Reports today, everyone, that the unmasking from the Obama administration was actually a whole lot worse and more widespread than anybody first thought. Fox News says former UN Ambassador Samantha Power was unmasking Americans almost on a daily basis, more than 260 times in the year leading up to Trump's inauguration. Unmasking, by the way, is a request to identify Americans caught up in foreign intelligence gathering. Power is just the latest Obama administration facing scrutiny for these actions. Joining me right now, attorney Brian Claypool. Let me ask you, Brian, how unusual is this? Let's start there. I mean, if she was asking for effectively one person per day, how strange is that to you?
This is beyond unusual. In fact, Trish, what this is, here are a few words that come to my mind when I hear about this. Abuse of power, offensive, reprehensible, and potentially legally actionable. I mean,
let me start with abuse of power. I mean, why is it an abuse? But just lay it out for the viewers. What's at stake here?
Yeah, sure. There's what's called a minimization process, Trish. And what this means, to break it down, is if, for example, the NSA is investigating a foreign agent, they're allowed to wiretap those phone calls. So let's say there's a phone conversation between a foreign agent they're investigating and a U.S. citizen about dry cleaning, for example, as opposed to making a bomb in a living room. Mm-hmm. The name of that individual should not be identified. It should be secured privately. For example, it should be identified in an intelligence report as U.S. citizen number 1, that you preserve the identity. Then what you do is you have an unmasking process that Samantha Powers and Susan Rice completely usurped. The unmasking process is you have to then make a request to a 20-person panel at the NSA to then release the identity of that person. And you've got to prove that you need to release the identity because it's related to some kind of intelligence that you need to stop a bad thing from happening. And
what's the danger here? I mean, why I mean, from a privacy perspective, what kind of precedent would something like this set?
Well, I see two major problems with this, Trish. Putting aside the privacy one for a moment, the absolute abuse of a power here. I mean, you have high-ranking U.S. representatives on behalf of a president, a former sitting president, who are using their power to obtain information against the law, in my opinion, to possibly impact an election or to possibly disparage or impact an investigation against President Trump and his administration. Mm-hmm. Now, I find it very hypocritical that the minute Donald Trump Jr. has a meeting with a female Russian attorney, everybody's ready to hang him for obstruction of justice. Yet we have such a blatant violation of the law here, and we're not hearing much about it. In terms of the privacy issue, I mean, anybody who's been potentially impacted by this, whose name has been released, they have a potential civil case against Samantha Powers, and also possibly a limited criminal case if this information is now used or published to somebody else, and that information harms
Brian, there are
the individual.
A lot of questions. It is very perplexing. Of course, you also have the whole Paul Manafort issue out there. There are reports that he may have offered to brief a Russian billionaire during the campaign. What's your thought on that? What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have to figure out what evidence we have to support this proposition. Because what I've been seeing the last year, Trish, is we're hearing things about, okay, here we have Manafort's briefing a Russian billionaire. We had Donald Trump Jr. meeting with a female attorney. And what we're finding is a visceral reaction that they've done something wrong or they've broken the law. That's everybody's jumping to that conclusion.
I hear you. I mean, you could, if we're to assume that this is innocent, you just, maybe he knew a Russian billionaire and was just saying, hey, yeah, the campaign's going really well, and I think we're going to win, or something like that. It's not clear entirely what the malice is in all that, but anyway, Brian, we're going to continue to stay on this story. We appreciate you joining us here today. Lots of questions all around. Thank you so much. Quick break. We'll be right back.